Right, it's 12 o'clock. This is PNB TV News Analysis at 12. The top stories. Nigeria Labour Congress says a further increase in the price of petrol would lead to anarchy in the country. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun expresses optimism that security of the country will improve. Political crisis deepens in Rivers State as 6 commissioners resign. Details coming up shortly. Right, hi there. I am Omoife Peace Osemere, and you are watching News Analysis live on PNB TV. Now, let's begin with more reactions trailing the World Bank's prescription for an increase in the pump price of petrol in Nigeria. The Nigeria Labour Congress has warned the federal government against heeding the advice of the World Bank to increase the pump price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, to 750 naira per litre. NLC's head of information, Benson Opa, in an interview with the National Daily said any further increase in the price of petrol would lead to anarchy in the country. Now, this is against the backdrop of an explanation by oil marketers that the cost of PMS should be around 1,000 naira per litre in the absence of the subsidy regime. But the government on Thursday denied the claims of marketers and the World Bank as regards the reintroduction of subsidy on petrol in Nigeria. It will be recorded that the World Bank had on Wednesday asked the federal government to stop the subsidy payment on petrol and raise the cost of the product to 750 naira per litre as against the current price of 650 naira per litre. Now, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, has said the rising inflation and exchange rates will reduce drastically in 2024. While projecting less revenue from oil exports next year, the Apex Bank governor declared that the total trade from Nigerian foreign exchange market, NAFEM, stood at 18.804 billion naira in the third quarter of 2023. Cardoso, who spoke when he appeared before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions for an interactive session, explained to members of the Joint Committee from both chambers of the National Assembly that outlook for domestic economy in Nigeria for 2024 remains very positive, as both the inflation and exchange rate would withstand fluctuating pressures on them and also get stabilized. Olayemi Cardoso told the committee members that the unification of the exchange rate window in June 2023 had ushered in a new approach to the management of the exchange rate aimed at reducing arbitrage, rent-seeking behavior and speculation in the market. Now let's head on to security matters now, where the Joint Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs and Inspector General of Police have been urged to take necessary steps to improve the security situation in the country. The committee, co-chaired by Abdul Hamid and Abubakar Yelman, said this when the minister and the IG appeared before the joint session of a committee in Abuja to defend the 2024 budget. The committee said the security of lives and property remained a primary responsibility of every government, hence the need for the Nigerian police to live up to expectations. Yelman noted that the National Assembly would do the needful to ensure the necessary things were done to enhance the performance of the Nigeria police. Meanwhile, the Minister of Police Affairs, Ibrahim Gaidam, has said that the ministry was working with the police and other security institutions to ensure they deliver on their mandate of ensuring internal security. The minister noted that one of the major problems facing the police was funding. Also, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has expressed optimism that with the support of the National Assembly and the entire nation, the security of the country will improve. The IG said the Nigeria police, under his leadership, was determined to change the narrative for good, adding that the dream is to have a police force that would be positioned to fight crimes and criminals in the country's diverse communities. Coming up, the political crisis in Rivers State deepened yesterday as 6 commissioners loyal to ex-Governor Nyesom Wike resigned from the cabinet of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Details after this break. To join us again. News analysis live on Politics and Business Television. Now let's go to Rivers State, where the political crisis there deepened further yesterday with 6 commissioners loyal to ex-Governor Nyesom Wike resigning from the cabinet of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. This was as the 2 factions of the split State House of Assembly held separate sittings on Thursday. The commissioners who tendered their resignation were the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Professor Zacchaeus Adango, SAN, Commissioner for Works, Dr. Des George Kelly, Commissioner for Special Duties, Emeka, and also Commissioner for Social Welfare and Rehabilitation, Mrs. Enime Agume, the Commissioner for Finance, Isaac Kamalu, and also the Commissioner for Education, Professor Chinedu Umom, were also on the list. The Punch newspaper reports that 5 of the 6 commissioners served under Wike's administration in the same capacity, while Emeka was Wike's chief of staff for 8 years. It will be recorded that the state governor yesterday sent bulldozers to demolish the state assembly complex, while the 4 pro-Fubara lawmakers declared the seat of the 27 pro-Wike lawmakers vacant following their defection to the All Progressives Congress. Meanwhile, the pro-Wike faction, during their sitting at the auditorium of the House of Assembly quarters in Port Harcourt, resolved to adopt and convert the auditorium of the House of Assembly quarters to its hallowed chambers. According to a statement issued, the lawmakers condemned in strong terms the demolition of the House of Assembly complex by Governor Siminalayi Fubara without the approval and knowledge of the House. The House, in a motion sponsored by 26 members and moved by Ofix Kabang, representing Adoni constituency, drew the attention of the federal government, the Inspector General of Police, and the international community to the constant attack by Fubara on the Rivers State Legislature. Now, joining us live to discuss the recent happenings in Rivers State is a veteran journalist and political affairs analyst, Cosmos Ekpunobu. He joins us live via telephone this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Cosmos.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Right. We understand that, of course, the governor's loyalists had stormed the assembly complex to protest against moves to impeach the state governor. That was months ago. And also there was, after the assembly, got bombed by suspected arsonists, as it was reported at the time. We also understand that the bombing was believed to be an impediment to the impeachment plot. Now, the State House of Assembly complex has been demolished, and of course, we also saw records of mass defections there. Let's start the conversation this way by getting your thought, first of all. What do you make of the crisis, rocking the state at the moment?
Well, it's rather very unfortunate that we have gotten to this level, and when we thought that we could be improving in our political journey, and we are going rather too backward. Some of us were not rather surprised, because we have seen situations like that in the past. But what surprised us is that this thing is coming rather too early in the first term. It has never been too rosy between the godfathers and the godsons in the past. We have the case of Ngege and Chris Oba. We had the case of Chimaroke Namane and the Chinwo Bodo. We had the case of Ladoja and Obasanjo and so many of them. So, but this one is starting rather too early, and it's starting in a very, very ugly note, destroying the State Assembly complex. Then people resigning, the state lawmakers resigning en masse, and then even commissioners now resigning. So I don't know what is really happening.
Right. Are you privy to some views of some sort from the people of Rivers State?
What I'm privy to,
maybe some views, that are expressed by, people in Rivers State.
Some of them, particularly those of them that are with the governor, they are looking at it as a liberation for the state. That they will not allow one man to always decide the fate of a state. That what is the place of over 1 million people that find out on the day of election to make their choice. So if you are saying that somebody breached your agreement with him, does that agreement alone amount to electing a governor? If others had similar agreement and their own collapse and maybe their own succeed, does that amount to the only process that will unseat? So people are looking at it. If the so-called godson can stand up against it means a liberation, limiting some money to the governor, with this face off, that agreement has collapsed. So
right,
the money
Cosmos,
would be a savings to the state.
If I must come in real quick, well, for some people this is a liberation, from some sort of godfatherism that has been, it has been an ugly and quite disturbing trend in Nigerian politics. But again, should that be at the expense of, public infrastructure?
No, it's wrong. That step of the discussion of the State Assembly complex is very, very, very wrong. It's wrong. Because you will also use the state fund also to build a new. And meanwhile, there was nothing wrong with the complex. It was a state of art complex, from what I heard from people, that there was no need for anybody to have pulled down that complex a particular time.
Okay, so that ordinarily, explains the fact that perhaps the governor Fubara did that deliberately, to stall the impeachment process, because we understand that the State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Joseph Johnson, while justifying the demolition in a statement, said the place was unsafe for human habitation because of the recent explosion and fire incident there. But why did this demolition come at this time?
Well, the demolition of a state complex, well, I've said it, is very unfortunate, because we would still use the state fund to build something ordinarily you could have managed. But again, there's no law that says that the State Assembly must sit under the mango tree. Go and check the constitution. They can sit anywhere and make their laws. But again, these are just the scripts from both sides. Both sides are playing their own script. The thinking of those who advocated for the demolition is that maybe if they don't find a place to sit, that impeachment could be stalled. But again, the lawmakers can sit in their private.
This, says a lot about the level of impunity when it comes to, the kind of democracy that we are practicing in this part of the world. Meanwhile, the pro-Wike faction, during their sitting at the auditorium of the House of Assembly quarters in Port Harcourt, they've resolved to adopt and convert the auditorium of the House of Assembly quarters to its hallowed chambers. Now, there is, an obvious division right now in Rivers State. What does that tell you about, what is most likely going to unfold in the days to come in that state?
Yes, just like you said, it's a very embarrassing situation there. But again, we have had a similar situation in the past. I've just told you about the case of Chimaroke Namane and Jim Wobodo, the godfather and the godson. Then Chim Wobodo was controlling about 16 of them, 16 state lawmakers, and Chimaroke had about 6. And the 6, at the end of the day, we are making laws for the state. And these other 16, we are in Abuja here in Jim Wobodo house. Yeah, they ferry them from Abuja here to a private home somewhere in Enugu to also make their law. But the situation in River State is quite different now because there is a court pronouncement that recognize Edison as the speaker. That means that any other thing that is done by the state assembly under the leadership of Edison stands. That is the situation, except if somebody has gone to court to vacate that ruling. Otherwise, they recognize state assembly today is the one headed by Edison. That is the unfortunate situation there.
Right, Cosmos, could you please, help us get sense of, what the federal government is perhaps planning at the moment? Because, of course, calls have been made. The attention of the federal government has been drawn to this. The Inspector General of Police has also been called upon, and also the international community, to perhaps, wade into the situation on ground. Yes.
Yeah, the president has a lot of role to play. If we can imagine the situation in Ondo now, the situation has been addressed because the president waded in and advised them to allow the deputy to take over the running of the state, since the other man is on sick leave. But before then, of course, you know about the crisis. The people didn't want the deputy, but the president himself has advised them that this is the way to go and this is the position of the law. So the president can as well call them in Port Harcourt to say, yes, you may have an agreement with Wike, but we are looking at our democracy. But whatever affects River State as a major oil producing state will affect the economy here. So the president has a role to play. So if you call the authors to adapt.
So it's really shameful, one would say, taking a look at the progression of events when it comes to issues relating to godfatherism in Nigerian politics. But what picture does that actually present or paint about Nigeria and Nigerians before the international community?
Well, that of course in itself is projecting Nigeria in a bad light, because it means that we are not making progress. One would have thought that by now we would have overcome all this issue of godfatherism. Godfatherism is everywhere. It's everywhere quite all right, but no one person can stand up and say, I made you governor. That language is wrong. In other words, our vote does not really count. So if you claim that, yes, you use that fund to fund somebody to become governor, and you now want to load it on him, that he should do every other of your bidding, then what happens to the state? And what happens to those people that line up that day to vote? So we should discourage things like this. We should also discourage people from going into such agreement to start with. Because football may not be the best hand or the best friend at that moment. But the outgoing governor then choose him because maybe he agreed to play along. Now midway, not even midway, few months after the inauguration, we are beginning to experience this ugly situation. It's too sad. The state will definitely suffer because we are going to use the state fund also to fight to stall impeachment.
Right, Cosmos, indeed, it is sad and really very disturbing, the progression of events right there in River State. But do you see an end in sight to the face-off between the governor and, the former governor who is now the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike?
I don't see it coming so soon. Of course, the end there, one person must go down. Wike is not ready to go down. So he's doing every other thing possible to make sure that the governor he claimed to have installed is removed from office. And you can see the progression. You can see from 27 lawmakers resigning now. Some of the cabinet members that also were put there by the former governor will also resign. So I wonder how the governor will manage this situation, because it's very, very difficult. It's a very difficult one for him. Because all the actors are beginning to, avoid you. So I don't know.
Right. We also understand for some of these people that defected, from the PDP to the All Progressives, Congress as a political party. Some of them actually said they did that because of the, internal crisis rocking the party. But again, we understand this is not the first time to record party, crisis or rocking political parties in the country. But how best do you think crisis, can be resolved within, political parties?
This issue of defection has really destroyed a lot of our political process, or democratic process here. And unfortunately, the people that would address the National Assembly, they're also beneficiaries of all this lacuna in our law. Because if you make it a very strict condition for anybody to defect, these things won't happen. You will remain in their party. You understand me? Even if you have a problem with the governor or whoever, you should remain in your party to fight. You were voted not quite long, not up to a year, and you just crossed over. And I'm sure many of them didn't consult their constituents before they even take that decision. It means they consulted the man they believe that put them there before they took that decision, which is very wrong. So if there is very hard condition for anybody to cross, it will help democracy. But on several occasions, that issue has come up in the National Assembly. Of course, you know why they have to shut it down. Because it's not in their interest. Because many of them, once doing nominations, they would either, if you're not with the governor will kick you out. And if the governor kick you out, the next thing is for you to defect. So that law will also hold them. So they are very long time to touch that aspect of the law. But it will go a long way to help us if we can do that.
Right. Well, one would say that the 2023 general election, of course, exposed a number of Nigerians to what, one would call political calculation. And perhaps what is going on right now in Rivers State is some sort of political calculation going on. Probably the calculation was not properly done. But of course, our fingers are crossed to see how, events will unfold in the days to come. Veteran journalist, affairs analyst Cosmos Ekunobi, thank you so much for talking to us on news analysis right here.
Thank you very much.
Right. And that's it for the news analysis for today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omohefe Osemere.